Quote Retreat by Sandor. One quote, one reflection, one thought that could bring a moment of light and energy to your day. Join me as we take a look at today's quote. The quote is by Angelina Jolie, born 1975. It reads, "Figure out who you are, separate from your family, and the man or woman you're in a relationship with. Find who you are in this world and what you need to feel good alone." I think that is the most important thing in life. Find a sense of self, because with that, you can do anything else. Let's take a moment together to explore the messages within this quote. You know what's fascinating about self-discovery? Most people think it comes from relationships, but Angelina Jolie suggests something completely counterintuitive, that we need to find ourselves separate from our connections to others.
That's such an interesting perspective, especially coming from someone who grew up in the spotlight as Jon Voight's daughter and later became half of Hollywood's most famous power couple.
Well, looking at her journey, it's pretty remarkable how she transformed from being defined by these relationships to becoming this powerful force for global change. I mean, she's visited over 30 countries as a UN ambassador. That's someone who really found their own path.
And what strikes me is how she emphasizes finding what you need to feel good alone. That's so different from just being independent, isn't it?
Oh, exactly. And you know what's fascinating? When she made that incredibly difficult decision about her preventive double mastectomy in 2013, that was such a clear example of knowing yourself and what you need, regardless of external pressures.
That's exactly what makes this quote so powerful. She's not just talking theoretically, she's demonstrated this philosophy through some pretty intense life decisions.
And when you look at her humanitarian work, it's like watching this philosophy in action. Like, who would have expected this Hollywood actress to spend so much time in war zones and refugee camps? But that came from knowing who she really was beyond the glamour.
Well, that reminds me of how she's handled her directing career too, taking on really challenging subjects like the Cambodian genocide in First They Killed My Father. That's someone who's not afraid to follow their vision.
You know what's really interesting? Studies show that people who have a strong sense of self-identity are actually more resilient in crisis situations. It's like what Jolie is saying. When you know who you are, you can handle anything else.
So how do you think this applies in today's social media age, where we're constantly defining ourselves through others' reactions?
That's such a crucial question. Research shows that people spend an average of 2.5 hours daily on social media, constantly seeking external validation. But Jolie's approach suggests we need to do the opposite. Turn inward to find our truth.
And looking at how she's raised her children, creating this multicultural family, while encouraging each child to connect with their heritage, that's really putting this philosophy into practice.
Exactly. And what's fascinating is how this approach has allowed her to evolve so naturally. From acting to directing to humanitarian work, each step seemed to flow from this strong sense of self rather than external expectations.
The way she handled her divorce from Brad Pitt really demonstrated this too, maintaining dignity and focus on her children's well-being despite intense media scrutiny.
And that's where the rubber really meets the road, right? Because it's one thing to know yourself when everything's going well, but it's during those challenging times that this foundation becomes crucial.
Well, that brings up something interesting about resilience. Studies show that people with a strong sense of self-identity are actually 60% more likely to bounce back from major life changes.
And you can see that in her career evolution. Like, did you know she's directed 5 films now? Each one tackling complex social issues that most Hollywood directors wouldn't touch. That's someone who's really living this philosophy of authentic self-expression.
The impact of her humanitarian work is pretty staggering too. She's helped establish numerous schools in Cambodia and Afghanistan, focusing particularly on girls' education.
You know what's really powerful about this whole thing? It's not just about personal fulfillment. It's about how knowing yourself enables you to make a bigger impact in the world. Like, she couldn't have done all this humanitarian work if she was still trying to fit into someone else's idea of who she should be.
That really brings home the power of the last part of her quote. Find a sense of self, because with that, you can do anything else.
Looking ahead, I think this message becomes even more crucial as we face increasing pressure to conform to social media standards and societal expectations. It's like she's giving us permission to step back and really figure out who we are first.
Well, that's what makes this quote timeless. It's not just about independence. It's about building that core foundation that lets you navigate any situation while staying true to yourself.
And that might be the most valuable lesson here. That finding yourself isn't selfish or self-indulgent. It's actually the most important foundation for making a meaningful impact in the world.
With that, we conclude this exciting episode. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd appreciate a like and a comment. Don't forget to subscribe. Thank you. Your support truly helps this channel grow. See you again tomorrow. Yours, Sandor.